Chelsea's £88 million winger, Mykhailo Mudryk, has finally spoken. After a 4-year points to a behind-the-scenes agreement Mudryk made to keep playing despite the suspension. The FAA banned Chelsea winger Mykhailo Mudryk for longest for a Chelsea player, not the longest for a winger, the longest ban in the entire history of the Premier League, ahead of this ban. The record was held by Joey Barton, who was sanctioned and banned for 13 months due to several betting offences. Following his move to Burnley in early 2017, was detected in a routine urine sample collected in late 2024. Meldonium can have cardiovascular benefits, including increasing oxygen uptake, accelerating recovery time, and improving fatty acid metabolism to give performance enhancement. Now here's where it gets interesting. Mudryk has not played for Chelsea since November 2024, when a few weeks of a mystery absence was eventually revealed to have been enforced by a failed drugs test. Before the truth came out, the Ukrainian had been absent from Chelsea's squad for a considerable period, with details of the case kept under wraps, and previous boss Enzo Maresca claiming he was out due to illness. That's a strange detail. The club knew something. The manager put out a cover story. The FA kept everything confidential. And the player himself vanished from public life. Since the initial suspension, which read, "This has come as a complete shock, as I have never knowingly used any banned substances or broken any rules, and I'm working closely with my team to investigate how this could have happened." He didn't stop there, he added. "I know that I have not done anything wrong and remain." Chelsea launched their own investigation shortly after the FA's began, with Mudryk insisting he has never knowingly used any banned substances. Think about that. Chelsea, the club paying his wages, felt the need to investigate independently. If they believed it was straightforward, why bother? To understand Mudryk's case, you need to understand meldonium and a trail of broken athletes. Also known as mildronate, meldonium was first developed in Latvia in the early 2000s as a treatment for a condition called ischemia. This can be caused by physical blockages to blood vessels or by a fall in blood pressure and leads to a decrease in the amount of oxygen reaching cells. This in turn causes muscles to tire during exercise, as they rapidly use up their oxygen supply. But the drug's real origins stretch back even further and deeper into the shadows. Meldonium's inventor, chemist Ivars Kalvins, to boost their stamina. The Soviets were literally engineering a performance-enhancing compound for warfare, and decades later, that same compound found its way into the veins of professional athletes around the world, but cannot be prescribed or purchased in the United Kingdom. The drug became globally infamous in 2016, and the name at the center of that storm was Maria Sharapova. Tennis player Maria Sharapova is the most famous person to be banned for meldonium, serving a 15-month sanction after testing positive at the 2016 Australian Open. Shortly after meldonium was banned, more than 170 athletes failed tests, almost all from Eastern European countries, including Olympic medalists in sports ranging from figure skating to wrestling. That number, 170, is staggering. It revealed just how widespread the use of meldonium was in Eastern European sporting culture. It wasn't some fringe supplement a handful of athletes were dabbling with. It was deeply embedded in the training regimens of an entire region's athletic infrastructure, because of evidence of its use by athletes, with the intention of enhancing performance. So Warder wasn't guessing, they had hard evidence. They monitored the substance for an entire year before making the call to ban it. But here's the critical question that hangs over Mudryk's case. If meldonium is unavailable in the UK, and Mudryk was living and training in England at the time, how did it end up in his system? Mudryk believes his sample was contaminated when he was on international duty with Ukraine. In October 2024, he gave a doping sample while he was on international duty with Ukraine. Not when he was playing for Chelsea. That sample tested positive for meldonium. This is the crux of Mudryk's defense. He wasn't at Cobham. He wasn't under Chelsea's medical supervision. He was with the Ukrainian national team, in a region where meldonium is readily available, and where accidental contamination through shared supplements, vitamins, or even team-issued medications is a distinctly plausible scenario. Mudryk's legal team is expected to argue that the ingestion was accidental or the result of contaminated supplements, which is a common defense in meldonium cases, and historically, that defense has worked. Almost all of the early meldonium cases in 2016 were dropped when athletes insisted they had stopped taking the substance in the usually low concentrations of the drug in their samples backed up those arguments, and Warder accepted findings of no fault or negligence in those cases. Now the question becomes, if meldonium was floating around the Ukrainian national team setup, whether through supplements, medications, or whatever the contamination source was, who else might have been exposed? And if Mudryk consumed something tainted at the national team camp, did other Ukrainian internationals consume the same thing? Did players from other clubs? And here's the part that has set tongues wagging across social media. If this contamination happened in an environment outside Chelsea's control, what does it say about what might be happening inside environments that Chelsea does control? After Mudryk's ban went public, an eerie wall of silence descended over Stamford Bridge. The only reason we know Mudryk has been banned by the Football Association is because it's been confirmed by CAS that he has appealed against it to them. The FA themselves have said absolutely nothing because this is a confidential process. Chelsea have said nothing and the players' lawyers are saying nothing either. That's how Sky Sports' Cave Solikol described the bizarre information vacuum surrounding this case. Three parties, the FA, Chelsea and Mudryk's legal team, all choosing silence in a sport where transfer rumors leak within minutes. And contract negotiations are discussed publicly. The fact that all three corners of this triangle refuse to speak is remarkable. The case has been unusual in that very few details have been made public, since the 25-year-old was originally suspended by the FA in December 2024. That's 16 months of near-total secrecy. No press conferences, no official club statements beyond the initial acknowledgement, no leaked details from inside the FA's investigation. For a case involving a player who cost £88 million, this level of information control is almost unprecedented in modern English football. But then something peculiar surfaced. The FA's agent transactions list for 2025-26, published last month, showed that the club and Mudryk's primary agent, Vadim Shabli, had agreed to an updated contract. That phrasing is used for several other Chelsea players in the listing, though the agents involved in the other cases were all working for the registered club. There is no further information given surrounding the details of Mudryk's updated contract. Why would Chelsea update the contract of a player who has been banned and hasn't kicked a ball for 16 months? What possible reason could there be to renegotiate terms? Terms with someone who might not play professional football again until 2028? While the details from other listings, which include permanent transfers and contract extensions, can be found publicly, that is not the case with Mudryk, given the confidentiality surrounding his situation. Some analysts have speculated that the updated contract could involve adjustments to Mudryk's wages during the suspension period. Others believe it might be an early step toward a mutual termination of his deal. The uncertainty raises fresh questions about Chelsea's long-term plans for the player, with reports suggesting the club could consider a mutual termination of his contract, depending on how the legal process unfolds. But there's another reading of this move, and it's the one that has people paying close attention. If Chelsea have updated Mudryk's contract quietly, it could indicate that the club knows something about the nature of his positive test, perhaps something that implicates the environments or protocols he was exposed to. Whether with Ukraine or even within Chelsea's own wider network, an updated contract could be a form of protection, a way to ensure Mudryk's cooperation and silence while the appeal plays out. Meanwhile, Chelsea haven't been sitting idle on the football side. The Blues have bolstered on the wing during Mudryk's absence, recruiting Alejandro Garnacho and Jamie Gittins last summer, as a clear sign of their planning for a life without a player who, even before he was banned, offered precious little on the pitch. In 73 appearances across all competitions, Mudryk has managed 10 goals and 11 assists for Chelsea, falling